Hi, Butler families. This video is going to inform you of a math tool called a 10 frame and then two ways that you can use it at home with your student. So a 10 frame is a tool that we use in math. It consists of 10 boxes, one row on the top having 5 boxes and the second row on the bottom having 5 boxes as well, altogether making 10. This is a tool that helps your child in many ways, but just one example would be if I would lay 9 cubes out in front of a kindergarten or first grader, they would most likely have to count them. Even my highest math student is going to have to count those unless they're arranged in a familiar way. And one way to arrange them for the student to see them in a familiar way would be using a 10 frame. So you can see here that once I lay those cubes in a 10 frame, most students would be able to instantly look at that and say it's 9. And that is what we call subitizing. Subitizing is when students can look at, a dice pattern, a domino pattern, some form of objects or dots arranged in a way that they're familiar with and be able to instantly tell you how many. Now, a great follow-up question to flashing something to your child would be to ask them, well, how did you know? Because you might have your student say, well, I know that there's 5 in the top row, and then I counted on 6, 7, 8, 9. And that skill is very different than just saying, well, I know that if there's one more, there would be 10, but that one is not there, so it's 9. The first strategy would be, more of a counting. They saw some of them and counted on the rest. And the second strategy would be a little bit more efficient and using what they know about 10. So 10 frames are very easy to just make with a paper and pencil. Just draw a big box and then some lines inside the box to make 10. And in the classroom, we've even made one, a pretty large one, and then put it into like a page protector. You can get those at Walmart. And that way you could draw on it with dry erase marker, but you can also, it just makes it last a little bit longer in that protective sleeve. So 10 frames are really easy to make at home. You could use any type of object. You could use cereal pieces. As I said, they could draw with a dry erase marker. If you have, they can make smaller ones and just draw with pencils, but it's great for them to be using 10 frames as well as that subitizing activity that I talked about. You could flash the 10 frame to them and then hide it after about 1 to 3 seconds and then ask them, how many did you see? How did you know? How many more to make a full 10? Questions like that will really get them thinking about those numbers. And that leads into the next way that you can use a 10 frame is to visualize. And this is something new to us teachers. We're learning about this as well, but it makes sense that this will help students as they get into bigger numbers. So subitizing is being able to look at something and know how many. Visualizing is when you either have a blank 10 frame or students are just able to visualize that number in their head. So I might give a student a blank 10 frame and say to them, visualize 9. And I'll give them a second to do that. And then I'll say, how many more to make 10? And then, a lot of them will be able to say, oh, well, just 1. Or it might even push them farther and say, okay, visualize 9. How many more to get to 15? And my hope is that inside their mind, they're thinking, okay, well, 1 more would make a full 10. And then I need 15, so 5 more, so 6. Getting them to process that and break those numbers apart in their head is really going to help them as they move to bigger numbers and solving that mental math. So overall, 10 frames are really important. They're a tool that will help your child see numbers more quickly and just be able to, if they're arranging blocks in 10 frames rather than just counting them, they will be more quickly able to figure out what the numbers are. A strategy that you could try at home is, as I said, the 10 frame flash, we call it at school, where you're flashing a 10 frame to your student and asking them how many. Those great follow-up questions. How did you know? How many more to get to another number? And just letting your child explore, making these 10 frames. Like I said, when they're eating their snack after school, maybe before they eat it, they have to lay it out in 10 frames and figure out how many pieces they have, and then they can enjoy their snack. So get creative. This tool will really help your child succeed in math.